Yeah, okay, so I've got the view set up there, which now makes things much, much easier. And after I do this little demo on stairs, I'll show you how you can do a few more things with walls, which should give you lots of different options for opening up that space as well. But better have a look at stairs, because obviously you've got a couple of different levels, I'm sure, in all of your projects, and you want to be able to make sure you can get from one to the other. And so I showed you earlier, if you only have a couple of low height steps like this, my tip is to use extrusions as much as you can, especially if they're solid. In other words, if they're solid underneath, not sloping underneath. It's much easier just to model those with extrusions. But having said that, the stair tool is great for most stairs that you need, and it's one of the best stair routines in any program you'll find. Lots of them have them. CAD and 3ds Max is the other one that I use a lot that has a pretty good stair routine, but still nowhere near as good as Revit. So with Revit, just remember there are two different stair creation tools, and Stair by Sketch is the older one, and I think, to be honest, still probably the better one, just marginally. Stair by Component, again, is obviously the newer one, and I only use that if necessary. So it's good for certain kinds of stairs, like spiral stairs and other types like that, and it's also good when you're doing construction documentation. It's brilliant, actually, for that. But if you're not doing construction documentation, and most of you won't be, and if you're not doing a spiral stair, I'd highly recommend using the older tool, which is Stair by Sketch. And so then, to set it up, there are a few little pointers I can give you as well. Before you even start drawing your stair, it'll help you a lot if you put in reference planes to help set it out. So, and this is like a lot of things in Revit. So I'm going to draw some reference planes in my plan view, first to establish the width of my stair. So I'm going to draw a reference plane here parallel to this wall and make it, again, equal to the width. So I'm going to make mine a little bit wider than normal, so 1100. And then I'm going to draw a reference plane. I want the stair just to be an L-shaped stair that comes down along this wall. So I'm going to draw a reference plane over here that, again, is the same distance from this other wall, 1100. So that's done a couple of things. It's obviously established the edge of my stair, but it's also established the landing. And that's going to be really helpful because the stair tool will make your landings as well. So then I'm going to draw some more reference planes. Firstly, to work out the centre. And so this is probably the most helpful thing when you're drawing stairs at first in Revit. It'll help you a lot if you establish the centre line of the stair, because that's the way you'll draw the stair. So here, I've drawn a line just roughly in between my previous reference plane and the wall. And now I need to remember that the stair is 1100, so the centre line is going to be 550 from each side. So I'm just going to change one of those dimensions to 550. Make sure the other one is 550, so they're obviously equal. So I've established that centre line, and now I'm going to draw another reference plane just to establish the centre line of the second flight. And again, change that dimension afterwards to 550. Okay, so I've got those things set out. And now the next plane is optional, but it's, I think, still really useful. So I'm going to draw one more reference plane and try to establish the first point of my stair. You don't need this, you can adjust it afterwards if you want to as well, but it will help you a lot if you can put it in. So I'm going to just draw a reference plane roughly where I want my stair to begin. So what I'd be thinking about here is the distance from this wall, even though there's a good chance I'm actually going to bring, this is a screen really, so I'm probably going to drag that back and make an opening here as well. I still want the clearance between that wall and the beginning of my stair. But then I also, probably more importantly, want to make the distance between my landing and the beginning of the stair divided, or a multiple of my tread dimension, or going, whatever you want to call it. So do you know your standard sizes for treads or goings? Yeah, 25s. Yeah. Oh, that's your 2R plus G. That's if you want. Yeah, that's an extra calculation you can do at the end. But yeah, 25 or 250 mil is standard for public stairs. Private stairs you can go down to 240, but it's good if you can just keep it at 250. So I'm going to keep in multiples of 250, and then I can make this say 1500. Or if I want to go one more step, that's going to be 1750. Right, so again, just in multiples of 250. So I could go another step. I've still got 1550 there. So I could go to 2000. So that way I know when I go to draw my stair that it can begin here and it's going to finish exactly at this point where the landing needs to begin and remain with that 1100 set out from this wall. Okay, so now you'll see if I go to use stair by sketch, everything will be much, much easier than if you just try to use it without any sort of set out there. So I'm going to go down to stair by sketch, and you'll see in properties it'll detect your levels, and that's really where you want to begin calculating your heights, by first looking at the levels in properties that Revit is assuming you want to use. So I'm lucky here, I've only got ground floor and then level 1, and if I look in my section view you'll see those levels. If you've got levels in between the levels you want to go from and to, you can change those settings in properties before you draw your stair. And maybe I'll just cancel that so it's a bit clearer. So I probably won't have a mezzanine here, but just pretend that I do. I'll draw a level in. So I can call this mezzanine. Yeah. Yep. Okay, so I've got a mezzanine level. And if I go back now and start the stair tool again, stair by sketch, notice how now it's set the top level to mezzanine. And if I don't change that to level 1, it'll mess up my calculations for the height.
Do you have a recording?
Yeah, oh yeah, this is all being recorded, yeah. Okay, so it's just like the design process you probably follow whenever you're designing a stair. Whenever you're designing a stair, you begin by working out where the stair is going to begin, what level the stair is going to begin on, and what level you're trying to get to. That's always the starting point, or if it's not, that's the way you're supposed to do it. And then you calculate the minimum number of rises based on that overall height. And I've actually seen a lot of people, when they first begin trying to design things like this, try to start with a riser height, which never makes sense because you don't want to be changing your floor levels to fit your risers. You do it the other way around. You adjust your risers to suit your floor levels. So here I've got 17 risers automatically calculated based on those two levels. So it's going from ground floor to level 1. And so then the minimum number of risers necessary is going to be 17. Do you know the maximum number of risers you can have in a flight? 18, exactly. So that's okay, but if it was more, I'd need to make sure I put a landing in. And you can do that as well. So that's good though if you're remembering those things. And you don't have to go to the minimum. So I might say, well, I can go to 18, so I'll increase that. And you can see then it changes the riser height down below. So if I put it back to 17, you'll see it was 180 something, 188.2, pretty close to 190. But if I go up to 18, it'll recalculate it, and 177, that's a bit of a nicer slope, so I'll go with that. You can adjust the tread depth there as well while you're at it, but it's on 250 and I'm happy with that. And then the width as well. So you do a lot more setup in properties for things like stairs than you do maybe for walls. So I've got that set up in properties, and now I can click on that centre line, and just by drawing the full width first, and then you can draw the centre line. You have to draw the outside and then halve it. That's right, yeah. So this will make it clearer why I've drawn the centre line, because if I now snap to the intersection there, that's the first point on my first step, you can see then the stair fits exactly, and I can go to the end there, and notice how it's counting the rises. So you can see in grey there, it's telling me 9 rises created, 9 remaining. Now I can go to the intersection between the next reference plane and my landing, and just be careful there. If you don't get it exactly right, just think about what would happen. And it was before, it's snapping now, but it wasn't a minute ago. So if I was even just a millimetre or 2 off, it might seem like it's not that big a problem, but it's actually going to make a big difference to the corner here, because it won't join properly, and that will make the stringer not connect. So it's really important that you draw that accurately. So you can see again, it's not snapping to the reference plane. It hasn't highlighted it. So for that, I'm just going to zoom in just to make it highlight both of those reference planes, so I know it's exact. And now I can come down and just make it follow that reference plane exactly. I don't need to count the rises because Revit will do that for me. And so you can see there, it'll only go so far until I've got 18 rises. So I'm going to go to the end there. Okay, so I could have had all 18 in one flight, but I want to have a landing here, just to show you how to do a landing, basically. So then I'll finish that, tick to finish. That's made my stair. So if I go to the 3D view that I made before, let's actually go to the other one. So you can see the stair in 3D there, which will give you a better idea of all the elements it's creating. It's making railings. They're separate objects, and I'll come back to those. But then if you look at the elements within the stair itself, we've got the treads, which are the flat parts, obviously, that you stand on. The risers are the vertical elements. And then do you know what these diagonal elements on the side are? Okay, so they're your stringers. So these are all the main elements in a stair design. So the stringers support the stair. And if I select the stair, I'll show you how you can make some simple changes to this that maybe will make it into more of a design type stair. So I'm going to select it, edit type, and duplicate. And I'm going to call it just set a stringer. So scrolling down, you'll see you've got properties for all of those main elements. We've got, just going past the materials for now, you've got treads, risers, and then stringers. So I'm going to change the right stringer to none, the left stringer to none, and then middle stringers I'm going to set to 1. Click OK, and I've got a stringer in the middle. Then I might decide, well, that could be a bit thicker. So again, selecting the stair, edit type, don't need to duplicate here, just going to go and change that property. So there, the stringer thickness 50, I might make that 80. Click OK, and you can see now the string is a bit wider. Back to that, edit type, and then I might want open treads. So I can remove the riser just by changing the riser type to none. Click OK, and we've got then nice open risers. See there? Now the railings are separate objects, so I can delete the one along the wall there. I don't need that. Yeah, just delete on the keyboard after you select it. This one, I want to change to a slightly nicer railing. So you'll only have a few types loaded initially. I'll show you how you can get more from the library later, but you can't just load them. They're a different kind of family to what we've been working with, so there's no load family button for railings. You bring them in differently, but there are more railings in the library. I'll just have to show you how to get them later. So for now, you'll need to just use the railings that are preloaded. So you've just got these 4 types. So I'm going to go to the 900mm pipe, and you'll see it's a bit better. The glass one might be good as well, but it might not line up properly, so you need to check that. You can see there, these panels aren't quite the right size for this length of stair. So that's the only thing you need to watch out for with that. Yeah, pretty much, yeah. There are rules for that. So if it's a low height stair, you can have that, but if it's over a certain height, you can't, that's right. And then there's that 135mm thing as well. So, or is it 125 now? 125, yeah. Okay, so there, the pipeline might be better. Okay, so then the only issue now is that landing, and landings can be a bit tricky because doing the structure for those is a bit different to the stair. So if I go back to here, edit type, and then look at the landing properties. So where else? Okay, so here you can see you've got special options for the stringer underneath the landing. So you've got the landing carriage height, and because of because the way landings are done is different, you don't have the same control as you do with the rest of your stringer. And so often there, if it's not doing what you want, set that to 0, which will just remove it completely. Yeah, and then you can model in whatever you want just using an extrusion or something like that. And that usually looks a lot better than trying to use the automatic one. Yeah, so just when you go to edit type, it's down in the stringer properties, and you've got there just the landing carriage height. Okay, so that's, and you can see it's a fairly kind of intuitive tool, so I might do that as an initial set out. And then if I have a look in my section view, I can see then what the heights are like. And so there I can see, well, it's interfering quite a bit with that opening, and I can measure, and this is the way the design process should work. Once you've done some work in plan, you then want to check the heights, and so there I can measure from this part, that's not too bad, 2100, but over here that's going to be too low to get underneath. Yeah. And so then you need to fine-tune the stair, and this is often the case. You'll design something in plan, and it's only when you start to project it in section that you'll realise it needs to change. So it's easy to edit these stairs, and this is why I recommend using Stair by Sketch. Once you select it, you can go back to Edit Sketch.
Can you just demonstrate how you got the center line again? Because mine just won't let me go to where I'm going to go.
Yeah, I'll make a new one. Okay, so here, so if you draw a reference plane to set out the width of your stair, so I'll make one, let's say it's, well, let's do 1100 again. And then you can draw another reference plane in the middle and make that half of the width, so 550. Whoops.
Okay, so I'm drawing
So, yes, I'll just show you again. If I select that stair and then go to Edit Sketch, you'll see then it's made up of these lines that can all be adjusted just the way you draw lines and other things that you've been making already in Revit. So you've got a few different kinds of lines. So you've got the green lines, which are your boundaries, and they're essentially equivalent to where the stringers will go. The black lines are your risers. Even if they're turned off, you need these black lines to set the risers. They also set the size of your tread. And then the blue lines are an extra thing. You don't always get these, but they're basically created whenever you use the run option to draw a whole flight of stairs. And that's what I've been using. It's been the run option. But you'll see then when you're drawing lines, you've got the option to switch between drawing boundary and riser lines there as well. So a few little tricks you can use there. If you select the run, the blue line, you can drag that and it will snap to increments equal to your shed dimension. So I can stretch it out there. So I might bring it out by 2. And then I can bring it back here by 2. Right, so I'm shortening the second flight and lengthening the first one. Looking in the section, then you can see I've got more headroom. Okay, over here, a little bit low, so I can just go back and edit that sketch again. Okay, so that's giving me the clearance now to go past the opening. Just open the wall there. Alright, so I'll fine tune the rest of it later, but hopefully that gives some ideas with stairs. The last thing I'll say there with the Stair by Sketch tool, I've been using the run option with straight lines, but you do also have the option to make curved stairs, and probably the best way to learn the stair tool and just get used to the way it works is to not try and do too accurate or too complicated a stair when you first try to use it. Just do a simple stair and just get a feel for the way the tool works. So here with the run tool, I'd even just try just make some straight stairs initially out in space, and I'll put it back to go to level 1. I'll just do a stair over here and do another one, and you can see it's automatically connecting those flights. And again, using Stair by Sketch, again with that run option, you can also try using curved stairs. So using that, instead of using the line option, you've got the arc option there, and you can draw any arc-based curve. So I'll just draw another one over here. That's a bit too far away. Here we are. So when you're drawing a curve, you need to give the centre point first, and then you draw your arc, basically. So let's have a look in 3D. So you can see there are a couple of different kinds of stairs.
Where's the curved one?
So when you're using Stair by Sketch, it's on the run option, and then you get that curve button or arc. Yeah. So it's good just to practice drawing some different stairs that don't need to be a certain size before then drawing one that needs to fit in somewhere exactly. And when you need to draw one that's a bit more precise, that's when you'll probably want to put those reference planes in to set it out first. It'll make it a lot easier.
Curved
Yep.
stairs without a banding, right?
Yeah? Yep.
How would you do that?
Okay, so again, just using Stair by Sketch. Well, it depends. If you want a full step spiral,
Yeah.
I'd use this one, Stair by Component,
Okay.
instead of Stair by Sketch. You can do it with Stair by Sketch, but it's much harder. So if you use Stair by Component, you'll see that there are these preset shapes. So here you've got full step spiral, which is basically going to give you a full circle. As long as you've got enough, you need the height. So I'm going to set that to level 1. And so that'll give you a circle like that goes over. So that's just what people normally think of when they think of a spiral stair.
Yeah. And that's calculated the 17 by 3.
Yeah, yeah.
I've just changed somehow I put it all in my settings on my roof.
Oh yeah, I'll have a look. Yeah, so that's yep. So yeah. So the reason I don't recommend using this one initially is because When you go to edit it, it's really different. If I go here, edit stairs, notice how there's no sketch there. There's no 2D lines. Kind of, yeah. You can edit it, but it's just more difficult than if it's a sketch. But for spiral stairs, really handy, because that's very difficult to make with Stair by Sketch.
But if you didn't want it, see how, if you wanted, what's the middle?
Oh, that's, yeah. Well, there'd be a post in the middle normally.
Post. If you want, let's say, a metre.
Yeah. Oh, then don't do it with that one. Just do Stair by Sketch.
Okay.
And sorry. So if you go to Stair by Sketch and then just change to that centre arc option, click your centre point, and then if you want a metre, you'd go 500 out, and then it's telling me, well, it can't do that, so it wouldn't be 500, so it's 500 plus the width of the stair. So the width of the stair is, because we're drawing from the centre line, so it'd actually be a metre, and that'll give us a metre inside. And the only other thing there is that the level needs to go up to there first. So here again, if I do 1,000, and then that distance, if we measure that, across should be, oh no, sorry, it's 900 because my stair is 1,100.
Oh, right, that's right.
Yep.
Okay.
But otherwise that should be right. So
So how many rows are there?
the minimum is so 17, I'd say.
Okay.
Yep.
So it's calculated.
Yeah, works that out for you. Yeah. So you have to know how a stair goes together and what other things you need to put in there. But yeah, it's really good the way it works it out for you. So yeah, great option. One of the best stair routines going around, like I was saying, but you still need to spend a bit of time with it.
Yeah.
And so later on I'll show you how you can get stairs and railings from the library. It's a bit different to other things, so we'll look at that later.